there, folks. Welcome to the channel. I'm glad you could make it because today's episode is a viewer-requested video. A few weeks ago, we made an episode talking about a cherry pitter, one that I had just bought, getting ready for the 2025 cherry season, and we were looking for suggestions on what to do with all those cherries. Well, we had a whole bunch of really great suggestions, and we'll try to knock a few of those out here in the next several weeks. One of those was a duck cherry sausage. Duck and cherries go so well together in a dish, and so the idea of having a duck cherry sausage, I gotta admit, was kind of intriguing. And so in today's video, that's exactly what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be writing a recipe for a smoked duck cherry sausage. Let's do it. First ingredient in this recipe is gonna be duck. And this bird was not cheap, 4.5 pounds right here. I think it cost me about 22 bucks. So we need to make this super tasty. All I'm doing here is just removing the skin from the neck. We're going to set the skin to the side, and we're going to keep the neck and the parts that we don't use from the carcass and make a beautiful stock with it, so definitely don't toss that. The rest of this breakdown is going to be pretty simple. Remove both thighs, both breasts, and the wings, and then I'm going to remove all the skin and only use the meat. I have other plans for the skin. I want to do a duck confit, and it's very difficult for me to get duck fat, so I'm trying to save up a lot of that duck skin so I can render into fat. So for this recipe, we're only going to be using the meat, but if you want to make your sausage a 100% duck sausage, you can certainly do that. Here's the meat we're going to be using. I'm going to give it a quick weigh, and let's take a look at our carcass. Now, this is what we're not using. I decided not to mess around with the wings. We're just going to go ahead and make a stock out of that as well. For the stock, we're going to sprinkle the carcass with milk powder and some of our very own savory. And what that's going to do is it's going to help enhance the umami element in our stock and accelerate the Maillard reaction. Drizzle with a little bit of oil, and then into an oven at 375 for an hour or an hour and a half, or until your bird looks like this. Absolutely gorgeous browning, beautiful Maillard reaction. We're not going to make our stock, and it's going to be super easy. If you want, you could do carrots, onions, garlic, bay leaf, herbs. We're not going to do that. We're just going to stick the carcass in the pressure cooker and let it cook for 45 minutes to an hour. Using a pressure cooker is going to extract way more flavor in a shorter amount of time than just boiling your bones on the stovetop. Now that you're done, for me it was about an hour later, I went ahead and took the bones and all those pieces out of the pressure cooker, and this is going to be our stock. If you want to make your stock more concentrated, you can reduce that liquid, but trust me when I tell you, if you don't add too much water in the beginning, your stock is already going to be incredibly flavorful. It's going to be amazing. Now, what I normally do with the bones right here, because these bones are incredibly soft, you could basically smash them with your finger. I'll run these through my blender, turn it into a bone meal puree, just like that, and then we'll freeze dry it and turn it into a bone meal powder. Now we've got fertilizer or supplements for our dog. Super good. All right. Here's the protein breakdown for our duck sausage. We've got duck, a little pork back fat, and some pork shoulder. For today's recipe, I'm using 500 grams of duck, 250 grams of back fat, and 250 grams of pork shoulder. So it's a 25-75 ratio. If you want, you can make this sausage 100% out of duck and duck skin. It's going to be a little trickier to make, and you want to make sure not to overmix it, and the texture is going to be a little bit softer, but you could certainly do that. I'm using a little pork because it's going to help firm the texture up of this sausage, but if you want, you could use veal. Lamb would be another great choice for this sausage. Anyway, choice is yours. Right here, we're cutting everything up into small pieces. Yours doesn't have to be this small, but you just want everything to fit into the grinder, and we're going to stick this into the freezer so it can partially chill. Let's take a look at our spices. You'll find a recipe link in the description box below for this sausage. Right here at the top, we've got salt, Insecure No. 1, and white pepper, coarsely ground black pepper. We also have minced garlic, a little thyme, and a little fennel pollen. I thought that would be a nice addition to this recipe. This is the fennel pollen that I use. I put it in a different container, but I'll put a link in the description box if you're interested. We've got a touch of cayenne pepper and my favorite ingredient, savory. That's going to boost the umami savory qualities. This is what that looks like. Also link in the description if you need a pack. Our final ingredient is what I call the lip smacking ingredient. This is going to be a touch of cinnamon. It's going to add just a je ne sais quoi type of flavor. As far as a binder is concerned, I am going to be using non-fat dry milk, high heat. You could use potato starch, whatever you want. We got this from the sausage maker because it is a high heat variety, and that's going to be great. It's also going to impart a slight creaminess to this sausage. I think it's going to pair well with the duck and the rest of the ingredients. And what we're going for here is a lot of accent flavor, so I don't want anything to be too predominant. Here's our pitted cherries. Beautiful combination of sweetness and tartness. And hang on a minute. Nope. Oh, wow. I love cherries. All right. 10% is what we're going to be using in this recipe. So 100 grams of cherries, fresh cherries, not dried. Although you could use dried cherries, it wouldn't be the same. We're just going to chop those up, put them into a little bowl. That's it. Now, I think this next step is completely optional. I am going to add just a tiny bit of port to our cherries and let them soak for 20 to 30 minutes. I think by adding port, we're going to really add a level of complexity to the cherries. This is our duck stock, now cooled down, ready to use. And just to show you what we typically use in our sausage recipes, and it's nice to have all these things available, this is a collagen-rich rotisserie chicken stock. Just adds a wonderful flavor to any sausage, really. It doesn't have to be a chicken sausage. And this is a clarified collagen-rich pork stock. And these are just alternatives to water when you want to enhance the, richness and the flavor of your sausage. We're going with our roasted duck stock, and I think it's going to be incredible. When it comes to grinding the meat for this sausage, you can literally do whatever you want. You can go fine. If you want to do coarse, there we have the 10 millimeter and the 12 millimeter plates. I think I'm going to go something a little more medium, 6 millimeter. Not too coarse, not too fine. When I'm looking at the grinding plate, I want to rub my fingers across the holes. They should be incredibly sharp, and my fingers should almost feel like they're being grabbed. Notice there's no wear from the blade. That's because this has just been recently sharpened, and I know this is going to give me a perfect grind. We also sharpened the knife portion, and that's very important to do. You just want to make sure everything's really sharp. One thing I am going to do is give it a little spritz with some oil, and that's going to reduce the friction between the plate and the knife. In essence, it's going to reduce the heat at the grinding point, which is also going to give us a cleaner grind. Another area that generates a lot of heat is the base of the auger. Splash that with a little bit of oil and then put it onto your grinder. That's going to reduce the friction, reduce the heat, once again giving you a nice clean grind. All right, our number 12 grinder from the sausage maker is set up. Our meat has been properly chilled. And you can see right here, it's partially frozen. It still has a little bit of give to it. You don't want it to be fully frozen. If it's fully frozen, then your grinder will shave the meat, which is problematic. You want it to grind the meat. So let's get it turned on, get to grinding. Talk about a great looking grind. When I grab a handful of it, it's loose, it's not greasy. This is going to deliver a premium sausage. Time to mix. Now we're only making 1 kilo, so into the KitchenAid it goes with the paddle attachment. How many of you use the KitchenAid mixer for your small sausage batches? And if you do you use the paddle attachment or the dough hook? Which one do you find better? In goes the spices, and now we're going to add our garlic. The temperature of our meat is around 33 to 34 degrees Fahrenheit during the initial mixing stage. You don't want it too warm. We're still trying to preserve the integrity of our fat during this step. Also, the stock addition is pretty cold. You want everything nice and chilled. And if done properly, you should start to see your batter turn from a loose and crumbly mixture, like it was in the beginning, to a very, very sticky farce. When you grab a small handful of it, you shouldn't have to do anything special. It will just naturally want to stick to the underside of your hand, just like that. And that lets you know that you've extracted enough of the proteins, which are myosin and actin, from your meat to give you that classic sausage texture. That's what they call protein extraction. Now that we have everything mixed well, we need to go ahead and add our cherries. Now, if you want, you could add port as the liquid to this recipe. I didn't because I wanted the duck to be the superstar. And when you start to add things like port, it tends to overwhelm the flavor, depending on how much you add. But if you want to do that, you can certainly do that. Being that our sausage is mostly mixed, we're just going to mix this to combine, and that probably took maybe 30 seconds. And once you do that, it's ready to go into your stuffer. Now, you don't have to put this into a stuffer. You can make little links out of it. We're going to be using a 5-pound sausage stuffer from the sausage maker. And the casing size that we're using is going to be a 29-32. So the horn that we're using is a 3/4 inch horn. You just want to make sure that your horn is adequately sized for your casing. I'm loving how sticky this is. Check that out. This is going to give us a great bind on the sausage, and that casing is going to stick to that meat really good, which is going to give us a nice snappy bite. All right, on to the base while we get our casing ready. These casings have been soaking overnight, a little touch of baking soda in the water. Once again, 29-32 millimeter. We got these from the sausage maker. Look at the translucency of that casing. Absolutely beautiful. If it's too opaque, it has a tendency to be chewy. But if you have a nice translucent casing, if it was soaked properly, you're going to get a wonderful, snappy bite at the end of it all. And now it's time to stuff it into that casing. And I'd love to know, where are you at in your sausage making game? When you see a recipe like this, does this look like an advanced recipe? Or does it look like one that's pretty easy to follow? Either way, be sure to stick around, subscribe if you're not already, because we have a show coming up in October where we dedicate the entire month of October to making sausage. We're going to have 31 unique recipes, so it doesn't really matter if you're a beginner or you're an expert. We're going to have a little bit of something for everyone. It's going to be great if you like sausage. Okay, nice and easy was the name of the game here. Light pressure on the end of that horn. And when we give our sausage a squeeze, you could tell it's not too firm. If you squeeze it and it feels like it's going to rupture, you might not want to put it in a link. Otherwise, it's going to, blow out your casing. There should be a little bit of give to it. Not much, because you still want to end up with a nice and plump sausage. Give it a squeeze after 3 twists forward, and I'm loving that. So here's the next link. We're going to pinch it at the mark and skip it. The third link, we're going to pinch it at our mark and do 3 twists forward. The rest is simply repeating the process. The next link, we're going to pinch at the mark and skip. The following link, we do 3 twists forward. And I'm just showing you a slightly different technique on how to link your sausage. So right here, we're going to do skip. This next one, 3 twists forward. And if it's not tight at 3 twists, you could do 4 or 5 twists until you get a nice plump sausage. The final step is to try and get rid of any air pockets that might have formed. So I'm going to use a sausage pricker, find those air pockets, and prick them out. That's going to let the casing adhere to the sausage meat a little bit better, which will deliver a nice, snappy bite. Okay, this is going to go in the refrigerator overnight. We need those spices to come together. The Instacure #1 needs to do its job, so into the fridge it goes, minimum 12 hours, and the following day we're going to get it ready to smoke. And this is what we're going to be doing. We've got a #4 digital convection smoker from Smokin' It Smokers, a smoker that delivers predictable results. We're going to enter in the sausage probe. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that this is the only brand smoker that I use. Makes incredible sausage. Absolutely amazing. All right, we need the sausage to dry out before we start smoking, so I'm going to leave the door open a couple inches, turn on the smoker, and because this is convection, I'm going to cut the convection to about 50%. If you don't have convection, no big deal. Just put a fan in front of your sausage or just leave the door open and put the temperature very low. The cooking schedule for this sausage will be nice and slow. Our first step will be 100 degrees Fahrenheit for an hour. That's the drying process. The smoker will naturally go to 125, and we're going to hang there for another hour, at which point we're going to be gently adding smoke. The third step, now all of these steps happen, automatically. The third step is going to be 150 degrees. We're going to hang there for an hour and a half. And the fourth step, kind of our final cooking step, is going to be at 170 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to stay there until the food temperature gets to 149 Fahrenheit. Now, all of this is programmable. The fifth and final step, the smoker is going to back the temperature down to 145, and it's going to hover there for about an hour. And the reason I set this in place is in the event that I'm not around or I can't get to the smoker immediately, it's going to keep me from overcooking it, and it's also going to help pasteurize the sausage. And that's the cooking schedule. If you want information on this digital smoker, check out the description box below. We're now at step 2, where the temperature has increased to 125. Our sausage is properly dried. I'm using a very mild wood here. I'm using a little bit of apple, a little bit of cherry, nothing too harsh, because I don't want the smoke flavor to overwhelm the sausage. Now, you can obviously choose whatever wood you want to use for this particular recipe. And we're also using the cold smoke generator from Smokin' It to introduce that smoke, because we can start to apply smoke at much lower temperatures. Obviously, you can use the wood box, not a problem, but I like the cold smoke generator. Okay, we're going to shut her down and let the schedule of the digital smoker do its thing. Each one of those steps is going to happen by itself. And once we're done, we're going to get a notification on our phone to say, hey, your duck sausage is ready. And it's what it looks like. Beautiful looking sausage. That convection fan rolling. Smells great. Let's cool this down. I want to get that temperature down to below 100 degrees. Now, you could use ice water if you want. I don't normally find that it's necessary, especially for about 1 kilo. And notice that my water is not greasy or oily. That means we've got a lot of that fat still retained in the sausage, which is perfect. Once it's cooled down to below 100 degrees, I am going to just let it bloom on a rack for a couple of hours. This is at room temperature. And once we're done, we're going to heat it up just like this. Very, very pleased with the way this looks. We've got cherries studded throughout. You can see through the casing. Give it a quick slice. Oh, very nice. Classic 6mm grind texture. Very juicy. We got a piece of cherry right here on the top we're going to bite into. Let's do it. All right, guys, we've got our smoked duck cherry sausage. Very pleased with the way it came out. I mean, and just look at this finish. Beautiful mahogany color, took on smoke really well. Very excited about that. The slice, I mean, we've got that perfect smooth slice. That means we had a great bind during the mixing, a lot of protein extraction, incredibly juicy. And just holding the sausage, I can tell you right now we're going to get a snappy bite because the casing is dried up a little bit. It's stuck to the meat. There's no fat pockets leaking out all over the place. And it is very tight. That smells wonderful. You know, this was an experimental recipe. I wanted to accent certain flavors, play off of the, cherries, play off of the duck a little bit. We use the cinnamon, the port. I want the duck to shine, though, at the end of the day. That's really the superstar of this recipe, and everything is just going to be accenting the duck. And the way that it smells, I'm not picking up any one particular spice heavier than the other. I think they're all harmoniously working together. I'm definitely picking up the duck, though. And the smoke, it's not overly smoky, which I like. I didn't want it to be just so heavily smoked it drowns out all the other flavors. Let's give it a bite. Bite into a little cherry right there. I wasn't sure how the cherry was going to come through. I'm definitely glad that we soaked it in port because it cuts the tartness just a little bit, accents the sweetness, and the texture of the sausage is incredible. It's not too soft. It's not too firm. If you do a 100% duck sausage, they tend to be on the softer side, but adding a little bit of pork, or like I said, if you want to add maybe a little veal, it's going to firm it up a tiny little bit. And I'll tell you what, finishing it at 140, you could go 145, 149, water bath, letting it rest, and then on the reheat, heating it up to no more than about 145. Wow, this is good. Incredibly tender, incredibly juicy. And the flavor is coming in exactly how it smells. I mean, the duck is the star of this sausage. Loving the addition of that, roasted duck stock because you could definitely pick that up. And it is really elevating the sausage. But the fennel, the thyme, the garlic, they're just accents. You can tell that something is going on in the background. You're not really sure, but you know that it's working and it's making the duck taste amazing. I like the cayenne addition. I didn't want this to be a spicy sausage, and the cayenne is definitely not bringing spicy. It's bringing warmth to this sausage, which for this very delicately smoked duck sausage, I think it's amazing. For this being an experimental recipe, I think we nailed it. And I hope you get a chance to make it. If you happen to have some duck, it's cherry season right now. Pull those cherries out. Make sure you pit them up real good. And I'll put a recipe link in the description box below. If you get a chance to make it, drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this sausage. And if you have any other really cool sausage ideas that you'd like to see happen on this channel, let me know in the comment section below as well. Celebrate Sausage is right around the corner. We're almost 60 days out from the start of Season 6, Celebrate Sausage. It's going to be an absolutely epic month of sausage making, 30 different recipes, 31 different recipes throughout the entire month. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss a single one of those sausage making episodes. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. I never make enough of the sausages that are really good. Next time we make this, 20-25 pounds minimum. This is right. And it freezes great. Freeze it before you smoke it, or smoke it, cool it down, and then freeze it once it's cool. And then all you got to do is reheat it. See you next time.